They're based on Judeo-Christian principles that come straight out of the Bible, that come straight out of the gospel of Jesus Christ. And they do not come out of the Quran.
That's a lie.
That's why you need to look at these verses that say very clearly what you're to do with unbelievers and what you're to do with unbelievers. He says we want this freedom. But folks, where do you find this freedom in a Muslim context? In 1400 years, where has this freedom existed? I will tell you. There was one instance in Spain where this freedom did exist. He says if you look at the atrocities today, that Christians have by far done the greatest amount of atrocities because they don't know how to fight wars. Did you hear him say that? Are Christians guilty of fighting wars? Are Christians guilty of fighting wars? What does Jesus say? Because I have to go back to Jesus, folks. He is my paradigm. He is my model for everything I do. And when I look at Jesus, he makes a clear distinction between church and state. Give to Caesar what is Caesar. Give to God what is God. Matthew is very clear that we do not bring the two together. So look at the atrocities that have happened in the past. He will talk about the Crusades. He will talk about the Inquisition. Are those Christians who did that? Or are they the state who has taken on the name of Christianity? Every time you see an atrocity done in the West, it is not Christians who do it. It is the state who does it in the name of God. Can any state do violence in the name of God?
No, but they carry the Bible.
What did Jesus say? Jesus says, when Peter used the sword, put away your sword, for he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. Thank God for Jesus. Thank God he got it right. Thank God we have a paradigm that everybody needs today. Did Muhammad ever say that? Did Muhammad tell anybody to put away their sword? Look at his life. He was involved in 29 battle campaigns. He assassinated anyone who stood against him. 25 people we know that he killed. Look and see what he did to the Jews living in Medina. Look and see what he did to Banu Qurayza family, the largest of the Jewish families, in 627. 800 men had their throats slit in one afternoon. Did Jesus do that? Do Christians do that? Folks, be careful when you blame Christianity. If you want to blame anybody, blame the state. Because we separate the two. And then you have an argument. But don't blame Jesus Christ. And don't blame Christianity. However, you can blame Islam when it does these atrocities. Because it does not separate the two. It brings the mosque and, yes, the state together. So whenever they go into battle, they go with the name of Allah on their lips. Allahu Akbar. God is the greatest.
The priest doesn't
Folks,
bless
be
the
careful
soldier.
what you're hearing today.
The priest doesn't bless
And
the army
this
when
is
they
the
go to
problem
war.
that we're dealing with. Islam and bringing the two together. Time up. I now give it over to my erstwhile companion.
An American evangelical general in Iraq who said, into justifying the fight, that our God is bigger than their God. So maybe you have to revise that view.
Our God is bigger than your God.
Secondly,
George Bush said God told him to invade Iraq.
the thing with Jesus, very interesting discussion. Jesus,
He's a spy.
Jesus, was he the leader of
Muslim
a
young,
state?
they don't know.
Did Jesus
You open
lead
your mouth, the
a
passport
country,
will
a
fall
state?
to you.
Did he do it for policy
Record
or anything like
everything.
that?
I will take it
No,
from
he
one
didn't.
person.
He didn't.
That passport.
All right.
That's
Moses,
why Muslims
was
are
he a
locked up.
leader of a state and a nation? Yes. And when he was a leader of a state and a nation,
sitting next to
did
one
God
person.
give him commands
And he
about
was
what to
conquered.
do
And he was
as a
answering
leader of a
questions.
state and nation?
This passport.
Yes.
And they only talk about
And did those commands involve
all that.
fighting against the unjust
When you come to my
and the
party,
unjust polytheists and the oppressed polytheists? Yes. Moses took out the sword by the command of God, which of course J. Smith believes is Jesus. So I'll rephrase that. Moses took out the sword by the command of Jesus, according to his belief. And Joshua took out the swords and massacred men, women, and children, explicitly ordered to by the command of Jesus, as he believes. The fact that Jesus didn't attain authority during his lifetime is something where Christians cannot use to say, oh, Jesus didn't do it, didn't command an army. Yes, he didn't command a state. How can you command an army if you don't have a state? Jesus wasn't given the opportunity to show us just exactly what he could do. But in the book of Revelation, when it talks about Jesus coming back, what will Jesus do when he comes back and assumes command and authority over the world? He'll be an iron fist. He will massacre people by the millions. Stand. Revelation 2, chapter 2. 22. Stalin will have nothing on Jesus when he comes back. So I think what Jay Smith is just playing upon Jesus' little holiday before he comes back, saying, oh, well, Jesus is peaceful. Wait, let's see what he will do when he comes back according to your beliefs mentioned in your own book. Anyway,
So then Jesus is a murderer.
also, you mentioned the issue about what the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did with Jews, or what the Prophet Muhammad did. If you look at what Prophet Muhammad ﷺ did, he gave a treaty with non-Muslims, and he gave laws and hadith narrations which are legally binding for all Muslims. He said, anyone that harms a non-Muslim has harmed me. The Prophet Muhammad said this, and as a Muslim, I have to accept this hadith as legally binding. Now you know how much Muslims love Prophet Muhammad. You know how much we love and respect him, and we would never ever let anyone harm him. But the Prophet Muhammad said that if you harm a non-Muslim in the Islamic State, it is as if you have harmed me. And in other verses he said, if you even have humiliated a non-Muslim, forget harming, if you have humiliated a non-Muslim, I will contend against you on the day of judgment. So as a Muslim, we are aware that we have to respect our non-Muslim brothers in humanity, and that we cannot oppress them. And this is the legal narration that we have to follow from the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Like also, he mentions the Jews of Medina, or some tribes, not all of them, some tribes of Jews of Medina. These tribes, he doesn't talk about what these tribes did. When the polytheists, the oppressive polytheists came to surround Medina, some of these tribes wanted to open a back door to massacre the Muslims, massacre the people of Medina. They broke their covenant, and the Prophet Muhammad judged these people according to their own Old Testament. What you do to people who betray a covenant. What the Old Testament says, they were judged according to their own book. What country gives the privilege to judge minorities by their own book? The Prophet Muhammad judged this. And I think this is what Jay Smith is not telling you. He's going to quote you out of context verses and out of context situations. And my job here is only to show you the context and for you to understand that in the same situation, you too would have done the same thing as any moral person would.
Okay. Let me just, before I start, Abdullah, do you support Qaradawi?
Do I support Qaradawi? Not in every opinion, but in the opinion that you can use manually delivered warheads.
Okay, folks, you hear him say that he does
on
support
military targets only.
Okay.
If
you do support what Qaradawi said in
weapon.
He might get arrested next week.
When we get smart bombs,
Record that.
I think you've said enough. That's enough. That's all I wanted to hear. You did hear him say he supports Qaradawi concerning all
scared.
weapons,
I
or when weapons are used against you. You remember, let's go back.
Targets.
Let's go back and see what Qaradawi did say on July 7th, 2004. Remember, look at the date, July 7th, 2004. Exactly a year to the date that those 4 young